Have you ever got to the last mile or so of a race and been blasted past by another athlete? Well, it seems like you're running through treacle. Some people believe that your finish line kick is a innate ability that the gods gave you from birth, but it is definitely something we can train and develop over time. In this video, we're going to explore how you can do that and how you can be that person who's overtaking people all the way to the finish. Steve Magnus, who's one of the gods of the coaching world, says people think they are limited by their genetics, but that stuff can be manipulated to a degree. Yes, you may never going to be a sprinter and Usain Bolt, but you can develop and shift your muscle fibers. But how are we going to do that so we can have that lethal finishing kick and hunt down the athletes in front of us? Well, there are two main ways. We do that through our training and we do that through our mentality. Let's start with the training. So part of the kick is physiological. As Magnus says, we need to alter our muscle composition to allow us to run faster. But I'm not talking Usain Bolt top end style speed. Being able to run fast on already fatigued legs is a different skill altogether. In their primes, Bolt would have beaten Bekele on a flat out 100-meter sprint. No question. But I bet if you made them run a mile before, like 6-minute miling, and then went straight into a 100-meter sprint, Bekele would wipe the floor with him. So what can we do in our training to make it slightly more Ethiopian than Jamaican? Strides and short hills are going to become your friends. Doing strides after a long run, well, it might seem like an annoyance, but it is teaching your body to be able to turn over quickly on already fatigued legs. Similar method I like to set some of my athletes are things called ATP hills. Short 8-second bursts up a steep hill with a 90-second recovery. And this is done after a steady run. This allows our body to be able to utilize the ATP system for a quick burst of energy so we can snap off when we need to. Another thing we can do is adding short pickups during our long runs. I like to do this sometimes in the last 5k of my long run. Every time I hit a K marker on my watch, I may put in a short 30-second burst. After that, I'll drop down to my steady long run pace for the remainder of the K before I go again. I have found this has helped me speed up in the latter stages of a race. Part of that is going to be physiological, but another part of that is myself mentally preparing for what I'm going to do in the race, which I'll mention later. Even when knackered, I will force myself to up the pace slightly each time. I'm not talking crazy numbers, I'm talking 10 to 20 seconds faster per mile, and it doesn't last exactly very long. Shock horror, another thing I'm going to suggest is heavy lifting and plyometrics. It's just another use case of why these are incredibly important and why you should be doing them, especially after a hard training session. Being able to be explosive and shift a heavy weight in one go is going to allow your body to be able to recruit a different set of muscle fibers as kind of a second reserve. And this is going to get the afterburners going. Cool, but now looking at the mentality. So part of it, it's mental too. It's been well recorded that practicing techniques and training and visualization is going to help us to be able to achieve our goals when it actually comes to doing the thing for real. So here are some mental techniques I've found that have worked for me. I like to use this thing that I call the 80% rule. Being able to kick in the latter part of a race comes in part from proper pacing earlier on. Even with the best will in the world, if you'll pardon the pun, if you're already dead, shattered and full of lactic, a kick, well, it ain't happening. This is where that 80% rule comes in, and I mentally call that the halfway point. So for a 10k, I'll see the halfway is 8k, and for a whole marathon, you're looking at 21 miles. Up until there, I tell myself to relax and to keep something in the bank. What do I mean tank? I keep telling myself to be calm and to tell myself to be ready to speed up when I hit that point. You need to have confidence though, because you're probably going to go through the first half slightly slower than your target pace. That's absolutely fine, and to be honest, I preach doing that. It's called negative splitting. The vast majority of world records have been done using it. The exception is probably Kipchoge's recent ridiculous marathon time, but before that, all the marathon world records, well, they were done using negative splitting. Another thing I like to do is to push off landmarks. In the closing stages of the race, that last 20%, I like to look up and forwards and see landmarks in front of me. In that kind of last mile, that last K, in the big races, you're gonna have 1K to go, 800 meters to go, 400 meters to go, and so on and so on. Every time I hit one of those, I'll put in one of those 30-second surges I was talking about earlier in my pickups. And then I'll settle back down into my race effort. This is why I'm practicing in my long run in that final last 5k. If I know I can do it in training and I know I can do it on tired legs, it gives me confidence that I'm going to be able to do it in the race. If there are no big sign markers, I will use landmarks like a bench, a tree, a spectator. Or if worse comes to worse and there's nothing around you, I'll probably put one in every 2-3 minutes. Between each effort, I'm going to start readying myself, thinking about the next one coming, and just work between effort to effort rather than think of how much of the actual race I have to go. I'm trying to relax myself, loosen off, and not tense up, which leads me to my final point, calmness. Shake it out, as Magnus says. When you're getting ready to put a push in, it is natural to start to tense up. Tense muscles are far less efficient, which is going to cause the opposite effect to what we want to do. Drop your arms for a second and shake out your hands. This will help loosen off your upper body and jaw. Aim for a faster cadence rather than longer strides and see what happens. I bet you start to speed up. This has just been a quick video on how you can destroy your opposition, probably help you get a PB. If you have any more tips yourself, please leave them in the comments. If you've enjoyed the video, give it a like, maybe even subscribe to me. There's going to be more coming. And as ever, I've been the Learning Runner, and I'll catch you in the next one.